Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Jay and Rich and back in the late 1900s. I just screwed up the name of our show, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. My name is Rich, and you can find me on all the socials at rich.piva, doing reviews of Musicpedia Metal as a Doom Charts contributor. I also just want to call out one of the guys in the local in the stoner Doom scene right now. TR from Freedom Hawk is going through some stuff and diagnosed with cancer. My other show, the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour, is a sponsor for a charity show that's going on. So if everyone go check out the GoFundMe for TR, give if you can. Great dudes, great musicians, great band, and a great cause. So, um, but for this show, I want to number one say hello to Jay. Jay, what's going on? How you doing?
Doing good, doing
Excellent.
good.
Congratulations on the Knicks victory. I know we were just chatting a little bit before that, so smiles all around there. But we are excited because we get to have Joe Daniels on the show. From you might know him from Local H. Joe, what's going on? How are you doing?
Much. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we finally got
Absolutely.
set this up. Nothing much. I'm actually on vacation right now. It was a last minute thing. Went to Illinois to see my in-laws, and then we drove. I wanted to fly to Tennessee to see my dad since we're this far over, but they wanted like $2,500 or something to change the flights. I'm like, no, I'll just rent a car and drive from Illinois to Tennessee. So I'm in Tennessee at my dad's. I'm in his office right now. So the light
Very
be a little off, but I'm here. So
well. Thank you for doing this. And when Jay said he reached out and you said you would do the show, that we were very very excited as big fans of the band, especially in what Wikipedia calls Local H's Joe Daniels era. That's the quote on the Wikipedia page. Um, so I guess first off, I'm just excited to talk to someone who was kind of involved in the scene back then and in a band that definitely had some hits, had some big records and toured with some big bands. Just generally, what was it like being in Local H in a time when alternative and grunge and that was the really the hot thing?
well, it's funny because local H kind of transitioned a few different times, right? So Scott and I, let's see, we met in high school in 87 or 88. And then it was like our last year or so or something. And we met because he was doing a project called Rain Dance. And he had a bunch of songs that he had written, and it was just kind of like this rain dance orchestra of different people singing and playing, and so that's how we met. We started building our chemistry and friendship there. And then we kind of, after high school, we transitioned into moving to Chicago, going to school or whatever, and we lived together, and all we did was play music. So when Scott and I connected right from the beginning, we just connected musically. It was just music, 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 and we both had a love for REM. So we went to see REM in at Alpine Valley in Wisconsin. We just listened to every album from front to back, and so we really connected over that, and that's when our chemistry started building, and we started really bonding. And then with Matt, we knew Matt. Scott had played in another band with Matt, Family Cruisers, and we knew Matt growing up, obviously, in different times. But so then Matt kind of joined in, and we all became this band that started playing. We didn't know what we were. Matt was heavy into like 7 seconds and a lot of straight edge stuff back then. He would get us involved in that. And we also were into early Nirvana, and from 87 or 88, I think 88, 89, somewhere in there. And so we had an edge with us, but we really liked that really grungy, angsty, just plug your guitar in loud, blowing out distorted edge. So we all really gravitated towards noise, you know? And then we kind of just, after playing for a while, we just kind of really said, okay, I think we're such and such. So we would basically come up with names of bands to call ourselves. I think we had a board or something we would write them on, whatever. And then ultimately, after all the names, Scott came up with Local H with 2 REM songs. And so we joined those 2 songs, and that was that. And we said, okay, we're calling ourselves Local H. We knew it was kind of a dumb name, but we liked it because you couldn't, like, if you think of Metallica, you think of metal, you think of, you know what I mean? So you couldn't really put us into a category. So, um, and I'm giving you a really fast rendition of everything. So that's how that started. And then we just became Local H. And we would basically play the college circuit from Wisconsin to Illinois spots, just all over and wherever we could play, house parties, whatever we could play, we just play, 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 play. Fast forward, eventually Matt Garcia, who's a great guy. Matt's a dear friend of Scott and I. We have nothing against Matt at all. Matt made the decision to leave and move out west and go something else, which he wanted to do, which is fine. And so Scott and I were kind of like, oh man, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? We were stuck. So Scott and I we did some demos, which I think was Feed from the Ham Fisted days. Feed, Cynic, maybe Strychnine, and maybe User. Don't quote me on this. It was maybe 4 songs on the we had recorded it. We basically were broke. We had no money, like all other bands, right? So my dad worked at Abbott Laboratories, and I remember he had these cassettes from Abbott that they would hand out, like at Abbott Laboratories, and some type of cassette with I don't know what's on it. Anyway, he gave them to me, and we would use those because we couldn't buy cassettes because we were broke, and we would record over them. So we recorded our demo over this cassette tape. We taped it up. I think Scott taped it up with duct tape, and Scott scribble writing on it, and we sent it to Polydor, Joe Basso at Polydor Records in New York, because we liked the Quicksand Slip record, and Joe signed Quicksand.
There it
We
is.
liked that record. We liked Stephen Hagley, who produced it, etc. So we sent it there, and ironically, it never makes it from the mailroom upstairs to the A&Rs ever, unsolicited. Somehow it slipped through and made it upstairs. I remember Joe said when he got this tape, the mail people dropped it off he was in his office at the time, dropped it off in his office, and out of all his mail, he saw this raggedy duct taped together cassette. Like, you know what I mean? Box. He's like, what is it? He ripped it off, he put it in, and it was do 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 do, and then it was and it smacked. He said it smacked him right in the face. He was like, what the hell is this? And so then he looked into more of it, what this was, and we had to tell him it was 2 of us because prior to that, the first label that came looked at Scott and I was Chuck Reed was the A&R from Interscope. It's California based. He came out and saw us at the Avalon nightclub in Chicago where I used to work. We played the back room, a little showcase for him. He came out and he passed on us because we were 2 guys. And it was not, it was new back then. 2 guys playing hard rock. It's like, what's going on here? So I don't think he knew what to do with it. And and we were very green because we literally it fell into our lap. We could not find a bass player. We tried, and there was just like some metalheads in the area, and the chemistry wasn't right. So Scott and I were like, well, we have A&R from Interscope coming out. We got to hurry up and figure something out. And so, you know what I mean? That's when Toby, a friend from high school, Toby Flesher, came up with the idea of putting a bass pickup under Scott's 2 at the E and A string. And then so Toby took the guitar, routed it out, put the pickup in, did the whole, Frankenstein thing. And then we got an octave pedal to lower the frequency. I made the bass cabinet. I actually made it jigsaw, the holes, everything. I made it, built it, and we carpeted it, and I put in speakers. It was so bad, but it worked. I put grills on. Then I don't even know what head we used, but we were so green in the beginning, we didn't know what's what, but we just knew we had to do something because we had A&Rs coming to see us. So Joe Basso set up at dress rehearsals. There was this place in Chicago called Dress Rehearsals where like group of salt bands then would play and do showcases for a labels or whatever. I remember he came out on a Friday and we had dress rehearsals and Scott, he just sat, didn't talk to us. And me and Scott sat up with pro audio and everything and just played. We played like 4 songs or so, maybe 4 or 5. And then he just got said, okay, thank you. And he left. And it was the weekend. The weekend went through. And we were like, what? And then so Monday he comes, he contacts us. He's back in New York. He says, okay, I want to do a demo deal. And we were like, okay, cool, demo deal. And then I think the next day or either later that day, maybe the next day, he gets back to us and says, no, I'm just going to sign you. And we're like, okay. So that's how we got signed. So that was the quick version of it. And so we never thought about getting signed. I mean, I guess you say, well, you sent your stuff to this and to that. I think that was because we didn't really know where to go at that point. When Matt left the band, we were really lost. We were like, oh man, there goes our bass player. We've been playing for these many years, whatever, chemistry, and there goes our bass player. What do we do? You know, we tried other people. It just didn't work. You don't put something into the recipe if it's going to taste bad. So it was just like, it just doesn't work. So that's where Scott and I, so I'm ham fisted when we got signed and we hit the road. We really started to learn how to tour and how to play together and really how to play because it was just show, touring, going to the same spots over and over and over. And it really made us tight and made the chemistry. And I think that's what really made Local H that people know of in the 90s. That's what made us Local H. So you had, when I say so, you had Scott and Joe and then Matt with Local H. That's the original Local H. But then people don't know that Local H. So then the Local H that we're known for is the 90s and Local H. I think we didn't really become Local H until we really hit the road with Ham Fisted.
So as a fellow drummer, one of the things that really impressed me about the two piece was how hard you fucking hit. Like absolutely just beat the shit out of your drums. And I love that in a drummer.
Well, it's fun. Thank you for that. But what's funny about that now? I look back because I'm 56. I'll be 57 August 4th. And man, I'm getting beat up. I'm like this shoulder, my right shoulder. I tried to work out a few months ago and go back because I had back surgery in December. I'll get to that. But I tried to work out and I went to the gym, came home, worked out a little bit more, and I tried doing push-ups. I did like 3 or 4 push-ups, and then all of a sudden it hurt. I mean, just ripped. It was just like you can hear it really loud. And I was like, what the hell is that? And then my arm was just like, I was like, so I was like, now had I been touring or playing, I was in the band still, it would be like, oh man, what am I going to do? But I'm not. So it was like, but still, I'm very active. I do a lot of building and stuff. And so it was like, oh, so anyway, I went and got a cortisone shot. He shot it from the back so it can all flow down. And it's been healing up, but it's very slow. So I'm thinking I'm probably a year out from this thing doing
Yeah.
anything for me.
I
I can't lift it.
I also had right shoulder problems
Yeah.
as a drummer. I actually tore my labrum. From
So
they
you had
said,
surgery.
yeah, I actually had surgery.
Okay.
So thankfully living in North Carolina, friends with the COC guys and Reed Mullen, rest in peace.
Oh,
And
we'll get into that.
Reed had just had shoulder surgery the year before and was back on tour.
I
And
miss Reed. Sorry.
yeah, I love him to death.
What a lovely,
Yeah,
Reed's so awesome. Was so awesome. I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah.
Long story short, I asked him for his doctor because he was back out touring as a drummer after shoulder surgery, and he gladly gave me his doctor's info, and I went and had surgery with the same guy.
Cool. Awesome. That's great. Man, Reed, wow. That's crazy. You bring up CLC because Pepper and Woody, Reed, and
Yeah.
Mike. I mean, all great guys. Pepper's on my Facebook. Reed, obviously on there, but he's gone now.
Yeah.
And when I got that news, I tell you, I was like, wow. I mean, it really hit me because I'm like, no, not Reed. But I could tell looking at Reed on Facebook prior to his death, he definitely had some ups and downs in life because you could look at him and tell. But what a talented drummer, singer, I mean, just like CLC is awesome. I love that band. They're great. They were like one of the first tours we did.
Nice.
And we did a southern tour. Local H doing a southern leg in one of our first tours. And I remember we were green, and they gave us a chance to tour with them, and we toured to these metal crowds in the South that wanted nothing to do with us. And then I'm black, so I was like, there's that thing. I was like, man, how is this going to go over? So those crowds weren't nice to us. I mean, we really had to put our head down and just play and just on those crowds. And I mean, there were even fights. There was that was a crazy tour. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah,
It
that's cool.
it's it's interesting that you say that because I feel like you guys from like when musically, when just listening to you talk, you guys are I want to say kind of music nerds like Jay and I probably are because like looking at the covers that you did on your like the 96, 97 tour, I was just looking some stuff up and I saw that you did a cover of one of my favorite bands, Guided by Voices. You did Smothered in Hugs on the Blade soundtrack. And I'm like, holy shit, how did I not know this before? And you played that live a few times too. And I don't think anyone would probably who knows you guys, for example, from As Good as Dead, that you guys were big REM fans
No,
either, right? You probably would never have captured that. Quick side note, my first concert ever was REM on the Green Tour in Nassau Coliseum. My first and at the time I
great
was like a
tour. We
hair
saw
metal
that
guy.
tour, Scott.
So
I saw that tour at Alpine Valley. Yes,
yeah, it changed my life. People say that, but literally I went from being like a hair metal guy to like
that
understanding
was
music.
prime time REM. I
Yep.
love that tour.
So am I right in categorizing you guys as like music nerds back then? And I hear punk stuff. You did Rocket from the Crypt covers. You did Stones covers. You did that whole Nirvana Halloween set. So it,
Yes, we were. We were fully encased in music, so we were music nerds. Yeah, it's funny because Gabe and Scott would branch off and go because they were. I'm probably more of the heavier guy, music, but Gabe and Scott would branch off and go and see like Belly, um, Julian and Hatfield, which I like Julian and Hatfield. I would call it chick rock, not to be an ass or anything. I'm just calling that would be chick rock. So basically, so the song Scott Rock, was basically titled because I would call Scott's music Scott Rock. So I titled Scott Rock the song. I titled that one Scott Rock. I said, this is Scott Rock because it's so different from anything on Ham Fisted that so it was like, it's more like, so, you know what I mean? It was more of a
Yeah.
ballad, right? So that's Scott Rock. So that's interesting you bring that up because, yes, we were guided by voices. Scott was heavy into them. I like him too. Um, we were very well rounded in our music selection and taste. So we would pull and do covers of just stuff we liked. We didn't care what we weren't trying to just be this thing or that thing. And that's why Pack Up the Cats sounds the way it sounds because we weren't trying to just be this or this. We're like, okay, guys, we're going to go on a completely different vacation this time around. You know what I mean? So it's like, put your seatbelts on. Now we're going this way, you know? From As Good as Dead, especially touring As Good as Dead for as long as we did. I think we were the only band in that toured so much during that time. We did so many shows and promoted that album.
Reason, the single from that album, Bound for the Floor, massive hit. Just looking at Spotify numbers, 178 million Spotify listens on that song.
We can get into that too. It's so funny because I just woke up this morning. I checked my bank because we are musicians. So if you have it and you have your money always coming in. So I woke up this morning and I'm like, ooh. And it was like from the last royalty check 3 months ago to this one, it was 8 G's, over 8 G's. I was like, whoa. And I'm not bragging when I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, and it's funny because on my Facebook now I'm very transparent with people because people want to know. And I explain things without coming across like I have an ego or bragging. Reason I say that is because you have to know that over the many years, our ASCAP royalty statements just from ASCAP would be around 25 to 3,500 in that range. So since with Gen Z now, this 90s music era, you could see the rates rising and rising, our checks are rising. And so that's interesting because right now, um, I think Scott and I we're going to try to do a master's deal Now it's 30 years later. So because of what's going on right now. So it's funny that you brought that. But yeah.
So I
That's amazing. It's also I just want to say that that's very cool. Like the because you probably didn't make that when the album came out, right? You because given whatever the deals were with the majors and stuff like that, right? It probably was like you probably owed them money at some point based
So right,
on
true, kind of, yes. So it's funny because that's just one. So in another 2 weeks, I'll get the identical amount again because we own our publishing back. We did a publishing deal in the band. Excuse me, we own it back fully for years now because we recouped. Most bands don't recoup. We recouped because Down to the Floor is such a massive hit, which we didn't think or know. You know what I mean? That song actually was going to be a B-side. We didn't even know what to do with that damn song. Island picked that song as a single, the second single, and then it just kind of grew its own wings from there. It's just been around for years. And now it's an alternative classic. So it is classic rock for that era. So it's just a massive hit. And so it's always generating money and income. And I'm very grateful. I'm sure Scott is. We're very grateful for that because it's really sustained us over the years. And it would be the catapult for why we would do a master's deal, and which can be like basically our retirement. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, so we're very grateful for that. Or at least I am. I can't speak for Scott, but I would assume that he is. Yeah, but yeah,
was
back we got a deal. We got a deal. We were very frugal because we were young and didn't have wives or kids or anything like that. So we were very frugal and we were very smart, which a lot of bands aren't back then. They give me the money, and now they're sunk. We didn't do that, so we're in better shape now on the back end.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird nowadays. The majors don't touch rock bands at all for the
Nope.
most part.
And it's
That
sad.
is, yeah,
Sad.
it's very sad.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a band called Holy Roller, that's on Ripple Music, one of the bigger stoner doom labels. Um, and it's a deal where we basically recorded ourselves. We're provided
Mhm.
vinyl and CDs for sale. That's how we get paid for it. Um,
I
and the
call us the last of the
label treats
Mohicans.
us real good. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's great, and I'm happy for that. I call us the last Mohicans. I think we are the last from the days of the '70s, '60s, where they used to sign bands, artist development, grow. We signed a 6-album deal with Polydor for artist development to grow. And obviously they can drop you at any time, and that's how As Good as Dead came out, because we were under the impression we were going to be dropped because Ham Fisted came out, didn't really sell. It was just kind of like, here, get on the road, do what you're going to do. And so they gave us 1 month to write As Good as Dead. And we literally were like in our practice spot and just went, what I mean? I even have memories of certain, like, writing High Five and Fritz's, just things, these things I have memories of. And that's how that album came together. And it was like, okay, go. And literally, we did not know that it was going to be this magical album. Sure, it didn't sell millions, but now in this day and era of digital, it doesn't matter. It's about the plays. And now we're making up for it. We're getting the plays and the streams, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Pretty
It's
crazy.
still it's still a
it's
pretty
such
good
a
amount of
different
records,
world.
though. I think I was looking at Wikipedia yesterday. If I remember correctly, it was like 330,000 copies.
Yeah, so basically what happened was, so back then they want to certify stuff gold, right?
Yeah,
So even if it sold 330 or whatever it is, hard copies, there were at least gold status in the stores, which count as certified gold. Even if they got bought back or sold back, whatever it is,
yeah,
given back, it's certified. That's where the certification of gold would come from. Like, because those albums were out there being ready to be sold. So it's certified, you know what I mean? So that's how it works. Um, it's weird because I think because we were grunge, um, and we were on the back end of Kurt and all the Seattle people, right? We're on the back end. We got signed in '94, and our album came out in '95 or something like that. I can't remember, something like that. So we were on the back end when he was done because he lost his life, and then that was it. And it kind of transitioned, right? So we were in the middle of all the No Doubts, Bushes, and everybody who was all sounding different. We were in the middle, but we were doing this grunge element, so we were kind of getting lost, you know what I mean? Pushed back, even though we were like, people are like, holy cow, you see those two guys? They blew up the stage. They did this. They did, you know, it's just an industry change. And we were in that, slapped in it. And then, then it was like, okay, pack up the cats. Here's a $10 million budget. And you guys are here's a $10 million budget. You're going to sell 10 million, right? Well, then the merger happened. And yeah, so
It's crazy. The stories that, and without even talking to someone like you, like it's just some bands that some of them were like pet projects, I think, of label people. Like for example, Built to Spill, I think was on a major label for like 20 years. And I doubt they sold 100,000 copies of any of the records that they ever put out.
yeah,
I think the Flaming Lips were like that for a little while too. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of who's there, who stays employed, like the mergers, like you said, that sometimes the music doesn't matter. It's the business side and who you're interacting with, which it sounds like that's exactly what happened to you
that's no,
guys on
yeah,
record three.
yeah. I think we were in Australia, and don't quote me on all this because it's so long ago. I think we were in Australia touring, and we got wind of, people were just, it was a lot of chatter from over there at the industry, the record company. And then I think by the time our tour was over, our A&R, they fired our A&R, Joe Basso, I believe, at Island. So we were like, okay, you feel almost naked when your A&R, the person who fights for you, brought you into the company, is gone. You're like, so you're bracing for impact. You know what I mean? You're literally bracing for impact. So basically, when that happened, I think we finished our last tour. It was like we played Milwaukee Summerfest, and then we played the next night. We played Chicago Metro, and after that, I think we generally, when we're done with a tour, we generally go our own way, Scott and I, because he has a different friend group. I have a different friend group. Now I'm cool with everyone, right? We're cool with everyone. We just don't. Yeah, we've been on the road, so we don't. Maybe if we see each other at Liars Club or at a show, whatever, in passing. Anyway, 3 weeks went by, and I remember, our normal, we don't know what's going down, stand down. We have no A&R. I don't know what's happening. Scott calls me and says, yeah, we're talking about the industry and everything, what happened. He's like, yeah. And I said, well, we're talking about future. I said, well, I would like to get a bass player. I said, I think we should get a bass player. And like, I think we did that, changed it up. And then as we're talking on, he goes, well, I think I want to go on by myself. I'm like, okay. And I said, okay, go on by yourself. Going by yourself, what, with a new band name, a new name, do something different? No, he's like, going by myself at Local H. I'm like, well, okay, well, that's our band. And I'm like, so you're gonna have to, we're gonna have to talk business, and you got to buy me out, and we got to do all this. And that was the end of the conversation. So then our manager, Steve Smith, at the time, I was talking to him to work the deal, but during that time, behind my back, Scott had trademarked the name Local H. And that was and I'm not, me and Scott have a dialogue right now, good dialogue. So I'm just, since I'm here, I'm sure you guys want to know, I'm just clearing things up. Well, but that's known as a fraudulent trademark, because we were under contract. We were not dropped by Island or anything. We were under contract. We created the band together. We are 50-50 songwriters, 50-50 owners of everything. So you can't go, Jay, you can't go trademark the name behind one of the back without consent and put my name on the trademark. You see what I'm saying? So that was wrongdoing, number one. And then number two, I got all this information years later that it was all there was this big trapeze plan to cut me out, get rid of me. He's been talking to Brian Sinclair, and it was all, you know what I mean? All that 3 weeks of me not talking to him was all this movement going on. So this is where it got ugly with us, because I was like, oh, nobody wants to feel betrayed. And so it's years and years now of fans and festering. And literally back then, I had an army of fans, who were like, where's Joe? And so it was, a lot of anger when I run into people, like, what's going on?" They thought I was just, like, on a hiatus or whatever. So this is years of just poor business decisions on certain people's parts and communication, dialogue that festered all of this drama all these years.
Which is kind of ironic because I don't know if you were involved or just like the repressing
Ham fist
of the record. No, the record after that, the big record, yeah,
As good as dead.
is
As
dead.
Good as Dead. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
You
had a
mean
brain fart.
the one in 2016?
Yeah, like somebody grabbed that and did it, and I think it was not a happy day it was kind of
Yes.
behind the back, and he got
Okay,
very
so
upset
that's
about that, right?
interesting you bring that up too, because these are all the ins and outs that people don't know. Even I don't really know about the industry, right? And how things work. So Universal Music Group owns the licensing to As Good as Dead, Him Fisted, Pack Up the Cats. And that's why we're doing now, 30 something years later, we're doing a master's deal. Attorney already served them just recently because we now either give us our masters or, and they said record companies don't like to really give masters, give us our masters, or you basically just signing us to like a new record deal without putting out any records, but you got to give us money, a lot of money on the evaluation, on the, of what it's worth, right? And obviously, As Good as Dead is the one that's worth something because it's iconic now. It's pop culture. It's bound for the floor. You know what I mean? So, with those the wax that came out in 2016, yeah, some other company did it. I think Scott, they were in cahoots with them, but this recently, I think it was done again, and Scott let me know, and I said, just keep me posted because I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but where we're at right now, that's why we're trying to now acquire a master's so that kind of shit doesn't keep happening, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you want to give us a publishing deal and you want to go run and put high five in a Trump commercial, you're gonna have to give us millions of dollars, which we would never allow anyway to be, you know what I mean? So it's a tricky thing because even if you do a publishing deal and you go, oh, I'm giving you 3 million to just go away for now, and I'm going to you recoup this publishing, and I'm going to go ahead and get your songs and stuff that we're not with. Like, I'm not getting political. I'm just saying like Trump, whatever, or any type of thing like that, any type of hate thing, or so music's weird like that. It's
It
like
is.
you have
It
It's
to,
is.
crazy.
yeah, you got to be careful on your stuff and your property, your IP, and what you own and all that stuff. So
It's so funny. Jay's label, Ripple Music, I'm friends with Todd, who runs Ripple, and, he has like lost records kind of series that he does. So I'm like, you know what? There's so many 90s records I love that nobody bought at the time, but I absolutely love, and I would love them to come out on vinyl. So we did a little bit of research, and Todd and I had my lawyer friend Rob, like we had all these people look into it. A band called Greta from California,
hey,
90s
Greta,
band.
I think I remember.
Th They had a record called No Biting, and I loved it. It had Nirvana-ish stuff going on, and there was a song called School on Fire. I loved it. So we found out who owned the rights. We found out the label. We found out the publishing. And Todd reached out and is like, sorry, we'll only do it if you print 5,000 of them. And we're like, so you'd rather make $0 and have this stuff like just rot than like let us print 500 for the people who would love it, make a little bit of money. And it's like, come on, like that's not even good business
No,
at that point.
but the
So
cool thing right now, this day, right now, Scott and I, we own our publishing
yeah.
outright.
Yeah.
So, and we have this now. You see this IP, as you say, you see the numbers on the streaming numbers, right?
Yeah.
So now it's funny. I'm getting all these emails and people contacting us because they're all coming out of the woodworks because they're watching. Because you have people on the other end watching all of these streaming numbers, and they're you make some money there. And that's why all this is going on right now. So Scott and I, our theory is like, well, let's see, let's just cash in right now, not publishing, but cash in on a master's deal. We'll, if someone wants to come approach us about publishing, we'll have that conversation. But yes, I agree. It's real. Do you guys hear this noise? I'm sorry. Let me know because I'm on vacation at my dad's. And
Yeah.
Good. We
my
don't hear anything.
call them
Yeah.
my knucklehead kids are out there. I can hear that. So I don't know if you hear it. So there's so much cool back behind the scene shit to know about the industry. And a lot of bands now today won't get the chance to, which sucks. But when it comes to, like you said, well, you do 5,000 copies, then that's a way of saying no because they know you don't do 5,000. You won't do 5,000 copies. Because why would you do 5,000 copies if it's going to take you 10 years to sell 5,000 copies?
Yeah,
You
it'd
know
be
what I mean?
sitting in a closet. 4,500 of them would be sitting in a closet forever.
That's
So
a way of saying no professionally, and that
I
it makes no sense.
I do the same thing, booking shows for shows all the time, and sometimes we can't. Right? It's a weekday show, and they keep pressing. I'm like, look, all right, we'll do it if you can give me $1,000 guaranteed that night.
Right.
Oh, we
That's what
can't pay you $1,000. Oh, sorry, we can't do it.
that's a good way, a professional way of saying no. So um yeah, I mean it's the industry is obviously changing different, but my Facebook, I try to, when I have time to engage, my platform is, I try to just enlighten people, musicians today, give them some hope and say, hey, man, forget the industry, just do your craft, do what you love doing. Don't think about that stuff. I try to, a lot of people have questions, and sometimes I'll just say, here, I'm going to make a post here because I'm getting all these questions from DMs. And I just want to like let everyone know right now, this is how it works, whatever. And I'm pretty transparent. I mean, I will show, I don't mind showing my royalty statements. I don't mind showing contract stuff because it's like, to me, it's like, you can search anything today and find it, and what am I hiding? It's over. You know what I mean? So like, I might as well, you know, educate
Yeah.
people, you know.
So when that, as good as that came out in 2016 again, right? We're talking
Mhm.
about that a minute ago. You went back out on the road and toured.
Yes. So that was a big deal. Scott and I, people do not know, Scott and I started Dialogue in, let me see, I think as early as 2010 or 11. We started Dialogue on this. It took back and forth, crossing our arms, for us to really get to the point of, okay, 2016, we're going to do this. I'm extremely out of shape at this point. Dad, bod, kids, family, just doing the whole shebang. You know what I mean? Winded, my heart's not, but my memory, muscle memory, everything came back quick, but it didn't come back fast enough. So I wish we had done those 2 Chicago shows at the end of the tour, not the beginning, to kick it off. You know what I mean? I would have been in better shape because I was losing weight, slimming down. I was my Everything was coming back, all the memory in my body. And then I remember we did 3 2-week legs to break it up for that tour, I believe. The last leg, I was like, I'll be on stage or playing, and it came over me. It's like a light. I was like, wow, now this feels like the 90s. I feel my body, I feel my breathing. I felt my head banging, the dizziness was gone, and I just felt like, wow. And then it was ending. So I was like, so had I kept going for another year or two, you guys probably would have saw 90s Joe Daniels,
Yes.
you know, without the hair.
speaking
Yeah.
speaking of 90s Joe Daniels, I would never ask for any behind the scenes, telling secrets about any bands or anything, but tell us about a band that you guys toured with. You toured with a ton of very cool bands that people love, and give us something that would be something we would be surprised about a band that you toured with, whether they were, like, really cool and laid back guys or whether they were funny or whether they were I won't ask for the total assholes, but, I'll you can tell us that too, but give us a good 90s tour story if you don't.
Okay, so rare. If we toured with them for weeks, or we played a few shows with them, or we played a festival or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so Marilyn Manson um, is completely opposite of what I think everybody thinks he is, and after hanging out with him, I was like, okay, he's talking to me normal. And I was like, okay, so this whole thing is just a shtick. I was like, okay, I get it, but he's totally cool. He was totally cool, complete opposite of what I thought. So there's that. Touring with STP for 5 weeks arena tour. Um, they are very just normal dudes. Eric Kurtz, drummer, very cool, normal. Scott Weiland was just kind of a big I see him as a he's very sweet soul, but he's very, um you could tell there's a lot going on there. Like, he's broken. He was and anytime I talk to him and be in his presence, totally sweet guy, but you could tell he was broken. You know what I mean? I rode on their, they had a plane on that tour to go, and I rode on their jet with them from one show to the next, just back to Chicago. I think it was from Detroit to Chicago, and, Scott was sitting at the back of the plane, and he was, like, kind of just like, it was almost like he was just like this big baby, like and not in a mean way, like, he was but you could tell he was like a big child, like, I want this, I want that," and he was kind of like whining in a sense, but they also had, a doctor at each show come out and give him methadone, um,
Yeah,
keep
so it
him
was a bad time for him.
we had
Yeah.
strict
Yeah.
rules, we couldn't talk about cigarettes, smoke, anything, drinking, nothing around him, so it was just like, when he came around, we were just like, "Oh, okay," we had to be like not goof off, not do anything to trigger him, you know what I mean? Um, so there's that one, and then there's, man, there's a lot of cool little things, trying to think of, a surprising, my bank here. There's so many, you know what I mean? There's so many stories, is that loud? I'm sorry. Is that really loud?
No, no, all good.
So, you know what? Give me a second on that because I have so many other stories. I just kinda
Yeah,
got compartmentalize them and get them out clear.
absolutely.
Funny, I do tell people this story that this wasn't us touring with anyone, but remember we went to see Nirvana on Nevermind when they came to Chicago in the Metro in '91, you know, and, this was actually the Metro repositioned their, their stage and everything after that show because Pearl Jam was coming through next on the 10 tour. Anyway, Nirvana, we were up front, right in front of Kurt, and I remember I kept tapping his Converse, the dirty Converse shoes, and asking him, was it Converse or Vans? Asking him to play something. He would bend down, and be like, "We play it one more time. We'll play that in a minute or in a few minutes or whatever, or later, or whatever." So I kept, and then he would spit loogies everywhere, and I put my hand in his loogie. I remember, and this nasty globby loogie, and I was like, "Oh man!" But it wasn't a big deal because he wasn't the legend Kurt Cobain yet.
Yeah, it
It
was a
was
punk
just,
show.
it
Yep.
was right. It was like, oh, it was like it's Nirvana, it's grunge. He just wiped out the whole playlist for the whole country for radio because literally one day we were listening to hair metal, and literally the next day it was Seattle. It was like it was just like that. You know what I mean? So, um, what I was
What was it like in Chicago, like, during that time? Because I remember, like, if you when I think Chicago, I think Smashing Pumpkins. You know, that's my first thing I go to, and I feel like Billy Corgan's like a gigantic asshole, but we won't get into that. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know.
it's funny.
But
We won't get into that because it's funny. I have to get into that.
please,
But,
yes, Joe. I baited you into that. That was my plan all along, by the
yeah,
way.
it's funny because Billy, I think we all have all Chicago bands, we have a respect for each other, a mutual respect. I can't say anything about that bad about Billy because I don't know Billy. Have I been in presence of Billy Corgan? Yes, a bunch of times. I remember go to Double Door. I went to go Double Door a few times, and he's standing back there watching the band, and I can see him look at me, and I'll look at him because we know each other. I mean, we just go our ways. I mean, I didn't ever talk. I think I've ever said hi or anything to Billy Corgan, even though he's been at our show, the Metro. He came to see us play. I remember because of the big deal. "Oh, Billy Corgan's up in the up in the balcony." I'm like, okay. He, I don't think he's ever even made his way backstage to say what's up to us. To even you know what I mean? I think it's just a respect thing because obviously we could light the stage on fire. You can't tell us we can't write a song. You can't tell us we can't play. So it was just like, okay, Jimmy Chamberlain hung out with. Uh, One night we're out and him and I and a bunch of people and it was, oh, Jimmy and Joe hanging out. And so Chamberlain's cool and we're just like whatever, normal and chill. Darcy, I've been around. James Eha, I don't think I've been around him, but I don't think I've ever. It's funny. It's just because I think we were all busy at the time. And you either pass if you're in the same if you're in town, not touring at the same time, and you happen to pass each other, then okay, you know what I mean. But that was rare. Urge Overkill, Jesus Lizard, Smashing Pumpkins, Local H, Veruca Salt, Triple Fast Action back then, Big Dish. I mean, everybody's kind of like doing their own thing.
Do you know Loud Lucy? Band called Loud
Yeah,
Lucy from
yeah,
Chicago?
Loud Lucy. Yeah, I think Loud Lucy. We played with Loud Lucy a few times.
I saw
Yeah.
I saw them, like, in the '90s, they opened for, like, 4 different bands coming through. I was in school in Buffalo at the time, and, they opened for Alanis Morissette on, like, her Jagged Little Pill tour before, like, right when it was blowing up. And I just remember
Oh,
the lead singer was like he told the same weed joke, like, 3
oh,
times on the
yeah,
same
yeah,
3
yeah.
shows. I'm like, "Dude, come on." Like, there are people who
Oh,
saw you in the first 2 shows.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But but
No,
I
it
I
was
I
Chicago was magical, man. Music was. I always tell people it was a magical time. I'm so happy and grateful to had come up in that town, in that scene during that time. I don't even think we all knew that we were the scene. You know what I mean? We did not know we were the scene. We didn't know we were the scene. It just we were just bands, and it happened. Then now years later, you go, we were the scene. You look back on that, and it's funny because now I guess you guys would be the first to hear this. Son, Lion, he just turned 19 on June 14th, Trump's birthday. Anyway,
It's
he
not Trump's birthday, it's Lion's birthday.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's been writing a script, which he's finished. He's doing the second right now, pass, that we are going to be working on to get made a movie. And I just tell you, you guys are gonna be very excited and very cool. It's very cool. You're gonna be excited about this. And when I can get to the point where we plug it, I will make sure I reach out to you guys and I'll have Lion come and do a podcast with us because we will be doing press together on
love
it.
it.
And
That would be
it's
awesome.
going to have it's about Chicago, 1993. And so the rest is history from there. It's gonna be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Your son is an actor, which is very, very cool, right? He's been in
Yeah, yeah,
stuff. He's a working actor, which
yeah, he's a
is
working actor. Yeah.
it's very, very cool.
Yeah, yeah. We gave him that outlet. I mean, he was modeling from 18 months up to 7 where he can like know what books mean and what they are and be able to speak well and all that stuff. And then he wanted to try acting. We're like, okay, it's nothing like we pushed or forced on him. He just kind of stumbled into it and was like, oh, he's been doing it since that he was a kid, and that's what he loves to do. He's just a movie buff. He reminds me a lot of Scott, and I always look at him and go over the years and go, how the hell did you come from me when you're so much like Scott? Like he's identical to Scott. Like it's crazy. The personalities and shit. It's scary actually. I'm like, how did this happen? You know what I mean?
You're
It's
doing some
amazing, and
I told Scott that a few months ago. I texted him like, believe it or not, Lion's a lot like you. And I always would say, how the hell did this happen? You know?
You guys do some clothing design as well, right?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we were burnt out living in the city. And we got pregnant with Lion, first son. And we were like, okay, we're done with this. Time to move to the burbs. And we said, what can we do? We're burnt out. She worked at Leo Burnett in advertising. Then in LA, she designed movie posters, worked at the agencies out there. And we're like, we're burnt out. Let's open up a clothing store because it was trending when he was in her stomach. All that clothing trending back then. Rock your baby, this, that, that. So we did that. Yeah, we did that in Deer Park, Illinois. 2007 to 8, but then the 2008 market crash, housing market, and it killed everything, depression, you know what I mean? So we closed up, liquidated, we moved back out to LA after that. So yeah, we did that. And what else have I, and then I always loved building. Even when I came home from local H, I could build. I went to school for architecture. So I've always been into design and building. And so I basically built an investment house years back. I was going to build other ones, but it wasn't lucrative. It was not, you know what I mean? So I was just kind of like, eh. So, but I've always built and still build and all this stuff. I'm doing a big project right now for this church out west. So that's what I'm doing, and able to have the freedom all these years to travel with Lion the set because the new Hollywood is Vancouver or Canada. So we're always in Vancouver. We're there. His He did the Spiderwick Chronicles series. That was 6 months. We were in Canada. Then his latest movie that he wrapped last year, we were there for 3 months. But now he can go to set by himself. Now I won't. If he goes to Budapest or something like that, then I'll still go with him. But like he can go all the other places by himself.
Did did he get the showbiz thing from you? Like, just, I mean, you were technically in showbiz, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, he probably got it from me, I guess. Yeah. Um, and but he's like he just consumes it, he just wants he's raw and real and he likes to just do what he likes to do. So I'm just like, okay, go run with it right now. But so his movie though is gonna be really cool because when he came up with it to dad, I want to do this. Here's my idea. I was like, oh, follow me. Came to the computer. I'm like, I got a gift for you. And I had the whole soundtrack for him because it's songs that a friend of mine, Chris Dye, and I had written from 2001 to 2003. And I'm like, here you go. And so he listened to those and he wrote the whole movie.
cool.
And
Very cool.
I think that Gen Z is going to love it from what I see right now, what's going on with this grunge comeback and all this stuff, what they're loving the 90s music. I think they're going to love it and I think it's going to be really cool. So,
That's awesome. That's very cool. It's so funny. In reviews I do and the music that, bands like that Jay and Holy Roller and bands like that today, it's almost like a band like Alice in Chains is more influential than just about any other band, like, ever. Like, obviously, Sabbath and the Beatles, like, but, like,
my son
the
loves it. I know. It's
from the '90s to now, like, it just seems like all those, and Jay, you can tell me if I'm crazy or not, but I feel
You,
like I
you are
hear it
not
in
crazy.
every single band a little bit these
You're
days.
not crazy at all. Alice in Chains was so different, even out of that grunge scene. Like it was such a different sound than the other grunge stuff we were hearing.
right.
And it kind of changed the game.
Right. I mean,
Uh,
you can always put in like Tad, Mudhoney, even
yeah,
Nirvana, and put them all in the same bowl and mix it up, right? But Alice in Chains always stood over here different.
yeah,
For us grunge rockers back then, you always respected Alice in Chains, but maybe they were a little too metal for my grunge taste. So I would just like not pay too much attention to it. But years later, you listen to it, you go, man, these are really good songs. These are really like this shit's really, you know what I mean? Like this is hitting really good. And it might have took that 3 decades to get to that point,
When
for
you hear their demos, they're a metal band. They were they
they
were
were metal,
metal.
right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
back then, I remember my take was, "Okay, okay, I like it, but, ooh, it might be a little too metal for my grunge ears," you know what I mean? Where I'm at, you know what I mean? And but, I mean, I liked a lot of stuff back then. I mean, one of my go-to bands was, Texas Is the Reason. That,
Oh, are we gonna go all post emo, post hardcore now? 'Cause is that where we're going?
yeah, I mean, let's go there, I mean, it's funny because I'd be wearing these shirts, and I remember people it would always get back to the band, they couldn't believe that Joe's wearing my shirt on TV or on this or MTV or whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the stuff we were in with hence Scott with the Betty Severe concert shirt, the album. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's funny because I'd have to talk. It's almost like when you do these podcasts, we have to talk for maybe an hour before we start filming. So it starts opening up all of those old pathways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I'm they just repressed, the Texas Is the Reason, like, the whole discography on Revelation Records, and I just those records were awesome, and
plus some good records. Yeah.
yeah, and
Good band and
and
fun
and
and fun band. Fun to see live. The drummer's on point. What can you say? Just like
yeah,
Rocket Crypt from the Crypt was fun to see. Drive Like Jehu. You guys remember Iceburn?
yeah, yeah.
Shudder to Think?
Shudder to Think is one of my all-time
Yeah,
favorite
I'm
bands.
just going down all these bands. I listen to Shudder to Think driving here, Craig's. I mean, it just all these bands are great. Um, I hope they're all doing well if they're around still, as far as but you see the insurgence of these Gen Zers just plucking, and they're just like they're having a field day. They're just like it's almost like ordering at a restaurant. They're like, I'll take some of this, some, and they're just having a field day because they're like, I can't believe all this music that the '90s had.
I it equates to, like, when I was figuring out, like, who David Bowie was and who, like, The Who was, like, that time, and then you're like, "Holy shit, all the stuff that existed then." I feel like that's what we're seeing from
That's what we're
Gen
seeing
Z.
now. We're seeing that now because we were a part of it, right? We were part of that was our era, right? So we're looking at it now from a lens because we're not old guys, we're in the middle, right? So we're like looking at it going, wow. And now I can look back and go on it and really gloat and smile. And I'm so happy that they get to see it, all my son and his friends, and get to actually pay homage to it, appreciate it, and connect with some of the artists who built that music, and people like yourselves who were a part of the scene, even if you were in the audience interviewing someone, whatever, a friend of one, still hashing it on stage, bashing it out on stage with, trying to make it whatever. I think it's great. I think it's really cool to kind of see it. I don't call them posers or anything. I just think it's cool. I mean, it's because it's equivalent to what we were doing for '70s music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Joe, we've taken an hour of your time, and I would talk to you for the whole day. So I would love for you to come back and talk to us again,
So
if you don't mind.
got me all,
Um,
and I'll be in a better environment. Yeah, absolutely.
this
Yeah,
Um,
has been this has
it's
been
been great.
awesome. Like, just I could, like I said, like the stories and just talking about music with music nerds and people who were there, and like you said, like um, I just consider myself part of it because I think I went to a show like every single night from like 1992 to 1998, right? So
Well,
like,
just the fact that you know who I am, you're part of it. I tell everyone I tell everyone, if you know anything about me, and one thing I wanna tell people about my legacy and that what I'm happy with, because I can't believe that I don't play drums still because I'm was such a monster, a beast on that's partially why I don't play because I am beat up. It is hard to play like that, man, and that's what I'm known for now, so for me to take it down, it's like, you know what I mean? Um, but please remember, everyone, I tell everyone, you all were a part of it. Just because we got a record deal and we were on stage and we had a song that hit and stuck, that doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean that this guy was a part. And that's the difference. I treat everyone as my peer because you were part of it. Because we would not be anywhere if we didn't have people like yourselves who admired our music, you know? And that's the thing. And so that's why I feel so bad today of musicians. And that's why I take time with them. I answer their stuff. They contact me. I'm like, I feel for you. I trust me. I feel for you. I wish I can take you back and to the era of our era and feel what it felt like. I wish I could put you on the stage and see what it felt like to play to all these people. You know what I mean? It's amazing, but I can't. And so I just tell people, listen, you were part of it. We're all part of it. We all made it happen.
uh, Joe Daniels, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for the hour of your time, and
Yes.
let's do it again. I can't wait to hear about your son's project. Let's have you back
Yeah.
on to talk about that, both you
I
guys,
won't
and
leave. Don't
that'd be
worry. We'll
awesome.
talk about that. Yeah.
Amazing to meet you. And Jay,
Okay.
always great seeing you. And thanks for reaching out to Joe to making this
Yeah,
happen. This has been awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.